Some 138 people's lives are lost in Irish waters every year on average. One such case involved that of John O'Brien in 2010, who drowned with a friend off the coast of County Waterford. His sister and a TD in Tipperary have taken up their case and are hoping that a private member's bill will address the investigations that are done into these tragedies. We're joined now by Mattie McGrath TD and John's sister Anne-Marie. So folks, could you tell me first of all, what does the private member's bill seek to address specifically?
Well, the problem we found, and Anne-Marie has done extensive work on this the last 10 years. You know, she lost her late brother and indeed his friend, Mr. Esmond, and a beautiful day out in pleasure fishing just for mackerel or with a fly rod, and they were out fishing. The boat got upturned and they lost their lives tragically. And in the course of, questioning and looking for proper investigation, we have discovered, and I want to pay tribute to Anne-Marie for all the work she's done on it, we discovered that the Marine Casualty Investigation Board have no seagoing experience. There's not a board member on it that have any experience. So we have huge issues with the Gardai inquiry, which was very, very poor. They had no powers to go at sea, and they made no public appeal. But then we found out that the Marine Casualty Investigation Board is just, a quango really with no teeth, because nobody on that board sitting on it at present has any marine going experience. Unlike our colleagues across the water in England, they have to have lots of experience, and each board member. So we're trying to, this is a private member's bill that I've researched and brought forward, introduced, and thankfully it's been debated second stage in the Dáil this Thursday evening at 5 or 6 o'clock. And what we really want to do is have the Marine Casualty Investigation Board, it's an amendment bill to amend the old Act, I think it's the 56 Act, I'm not sure, but to have it fit for purpose. That people on that, the personnel to make up, who populate that board, will have vast experience of seagoing, whether it be as fishermen, whether it has been investigators or life saving or whatever. I wouldn't have a clue myself. I'm from Inland County, so we want people that have the proper expertise to be able to carry out a proper and decent and respectful inquiry when there are casualties at sea, and there have been many, and it's a tragic loss, but we need to have the legislation amended. And we hope, in fairness to Minister Shane Ross, when he became minister, he did come down to Tipperary and visited Anne-Marie in our home and has been interested. So this is now, 2 or 3 years later, and hopefully this bill won't be opposed by the government and Minister Ross's Department of Transport and the Marine on next Thursday. So we're looking forward to getting it debated and hopefully passed on to the next stage.
And Anne-Marie, for you, this is obviously something that's dragged on for years and years since your brother's tragic death. It's taken a great toll on you and your family, I assume?
It has taken a great toll on us. My brother had 3 little girls when he died. We're watching them growing up, and we still don't have a proper board in place. I didn't want to leave the fight to them, because when we started this, the O'Briens and the Esmonds, we were on our own. Mattie came on board with us and gave us great support. In the last 12 months, we've got even more support from other families that have problems with the Marine Casualty Investigation Board. We've been contacted by people that are on investigators of marine accidents to tell us that we're right. I have all that in writing. Only in the last few weeks, I've been in contact with Michael Kingston. His father was killed in the Whiddy Island disaster, and 40 years on, they're still looking for answers because the investigation into their deaths wasn't done properly.
And so you feel as if the truth still hasn't come out about the circumstances of your brother's death?
Absolutely not, no. What we know what happened, but the truth hasn't come out to the public yet, and I believe our story is only one of many stories that the truth hasn't come out in Marine Casualty Investigation reports.
And are you willing to tell us what you believe happened that day?
I believe my brother and Pat Esmond were drowned from a hit and run that happened on the sea. And if it was on the road, everything would have been cordoned off. There would have been witnesses called. There was no public appeal made for information by the Gardai. None of the Gardai had seagoing experience. They couldn't go to the scene of the accident. they told us that they had an eyewitness. That eyewitness was later found out to be not telling the whole truth. So, I mean, it was a mess from the start, and investigations into 2 deaths, it's not good enough.
And so really both of you are just looking for justice to be done in this situation and others, that a proper investigation would be allowed to take place into these accidents or into what are sometimes cover-ups?
As Anne-Marie mentioned, the Gardai station made no reasonable effort to have a proper and meaningful investigation. They wouldn't put out an appeal for public information. If somebody's killed on the road tonight, unfortunately, as Anne-Marie said, the scene is closed off. It's a crime scene could be closed for a day, even the motorway, and all kinds of inconvenience to people. And they secure the site and they take evidence. But they also always ask for public assistance with information. When Anne-Marie went a number of years after the incident down to Dungarvan and put up A4 posters, on poles in Dungarvan town, people came forward. We don't know how many because it was Dungarvan Gardai they contacted. But certainly a family from close enough to Anne-Marie, who were underwater that morning, 2 who have since died, unfortunately, came forward. And they gave, 15 months to try and make a statement to the Garda Síochána. Even though they replied to an appeal, they wanted to get information. They had gone to the Garda station the day after the incident, because their boat was almost capsized also.
Actually, it was 5 months before the Gardaí took the statements from the other witnesses, and I believe only for myself and my dad went to Dungarvan Garda station in the end and put pressure on the Gardaí to take them statements. Them statements would have never been taken, and we would have never known that them witnesses had rang Dungarvan Garda station. So now we're left wondering how many other witnesses rang Dungarvan Garda station that were never followed up on.
And so you expect that this private member's bill will pass?
I don't know. Mr. Ross, when he did visit Anne-Marie in fairness, was very concerned and very shocked. He tells us so here this morning, talking about the makeup of the board of the FAI. This is far more tragic. While there was all kinds of issues in the FAI, nobody lost their lives. There's one after the Dungarvan course as well some years ago where 5 or 6 lives were lost. There's 2 lives here, and I said Anne-Marie's a champion here, following this on her own with her dad and her family and some supporters to try and get justice and answers. But more importantly, to ensure that if this happens again, if this legislation is passed, obviously it takes this stage where it has to be debated in committee and put into law and passed by both houses. We've got reasonable support for some members when Anne-Marie lobbied and came and met him, so I hope it will. And the real reason Anne-Marie is putting such pressure on here is for some other families, that they won't have to go through this trauma if there's an incident at sea and they lose loved ones, that they will be proper, meaningful, and investigations with teeth, and above all that the public and the families can have the confidence that the investigators know what they're doing, that they have seagoing experience. And it's like me going up to Kitty Bakes, Tim, your own county, and investigating something off the harbour there. Sure, I might as well be inside and make the snowman out in the front lawn because I know nothing about it. So if we have a quango like the Marine County Investigation Board, it needs to be populated by people with proper experience.
And finally, Anne-Marie, you hope that this change in the bill, this amendment, would allow a reopening of the investigation into your brother's tragic death?
I would hope that not only our investigation, but any of the investigations that the families weren't happy with, I would hope they'd all be reopened, investigated properly, and recommendations come out that will save lives at sea. Like an average of 138 people lose their lives in Irish waters every year. That's a huge figure. If this was for a road campaign, it gets loads of advertisements, loads of backing. This is just as important as road deaths.
After all, Tim, a life is a life, and it must be respected. And where there's loss of life, it's a huge tragedy. And the loved ones and family and siblings and everybody else are entitled to expect the best situation from the investigation team and to know that they're competent in investigating what they're supposed to be investigating.
Very
and
good.
Above all, there's no cover-up like we believe there was with the Gardai station.
Folks, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.